Hey everybody, this is Everyday Commentary. This is Sweet Stuff Saturday. I'm just going to do a quick video on a class of knives that I think we're not seeing a whole lot of. And these are knives that are really budget knives, like inexpensive knives, and maybe budget's not right. Entry-level knives that really try to like maximize performance. Specifically full flippers that try to maximize performance. One thing that's interesting is that a lot of the American companies have basically gotten out of the sub, $90 knife range. And you can find some stuff from Benchmade. Anything from Benchmade? A little bit of stuff from Spyderco and some stuff from Kershaw and some stuff from CRKT, but they're not really trying to maximize performance. They're not using the better steels. They're all sort of opting for D2 or one of the Chinese steels. And, they're not going after something like Nitro V or 14C28N. But the knives that are on the table here today, not only are they trying to do a little bit more, but they also have some real design chops. And so I wanted to sort of highlight what looks like the baseline for entry-level knives. So, and by entry level, I mean something a little bit more than a budget knife. A budget knife is a knife that you buy at the gas station or the auto parts store, and you're just going to beat on it. It doesn't really matter. As long as the edge comes to a point, that's pretty, and the blade locks, you don't really need much more than that. So, if you want a knife like that, you can still find a bunch of really cheap things. Most of those aren't American made either, but you can find a bunch of cheap knives. Entry level means that, they're a lower price knife, but they're really designed to hit the market for people getting into knives, getting into the hobby. And so they're a little bit more expensive. Basically say anything from $30 to $100 is an entry-level knife. And so we have four knives on the table. This is the CJRB Soria. This is the Elementum 2 from Civivi. This is the Ferrum Forge Gent 2, which is made by Weini Civivi. And this is the Civivi Lumi. And as you can tell, there's a lot of Civivi we-made knives. A lot of knives in general are made by Weini Civivi. But these knives are knives that I think are pretty easy to carry for everybody. They're not terribly expensive. I think the Soria is the most expensive knife here, and it's not that expensive. But you get a lot of good things. Like this knife has the RPM, the AR RPM 9 blade steel, which is the Artisan Cutlery exclusive. It's basically a powder metal budget steel, and the end result is it gets you a little bit better performance. I mean, I think I'd put it somewhere in the range of like VG10, 440C, a little bit better than those steels, a little easier to sharpen, and it takes a little bit finer edge, but like right in that area. Really good steel. I actually like the Pyrite as well. I chose all flippers just to make a point that you can do like really precise machining and get good flipping action even in an entry-level knife. A couple things that are interesting about this knife: it has fully contoured scales. It has a blind pocket screw on this clip, which is really cool, and the handle is really great. I mean, you get like full 4 fingers on there, or you can do it on a choked up basis with the choil. Really great blade shape, really great knife. Mine has a little bit of a weaker detent, which is because you can kind of flop it out there. I'd like it to be a little crispier, but if you preload your finger, you can get it to come out, and it's not a problem. Pretty interesting knife there. If you're looking for a bigger entry-level knife, this is not a bad choice. I think I'd probably go with the Burgundy, but this was a review sample sent to me by CJRB, so I didn't get to choose. Really, really cool knife. Another knife that I like that I picked up recently that is in this entry level is this knife, which is a button lock Elementum. This is the Elementum 2. Everybody's seen this knife. It's all over the place. It's the fat Elementum, but whether it's a little chubbier than it needs to be or not, it is a very nice knife. It's actually quite decent in the hand. You can choke up here. Even though this doesn't really look like a finger choil, you can comfortably fit your finger there and get extra grip on the blade. And the button lock, as you can see, it does a pretty good job at detent. Now, you're never going to get a detent as crispy on a button lock as you would on, say, like a frame lock or a liner lock. But it's not, I mean, like you can put some pressure on there before it breaks. Yeah, and then once you break it, see if I can fail. Yeah, you can still get it to fail fire, but other than doing it on purpose, it's pretty hard. And this is a really nice, easy to use knife. It's a little bit extra safe because the fingers don't cross in the blade path. It's got a good pocket clip. This is another sub-$100 knife that's pretty darn good. One that doesn't get as much fanfare. I think it's a substantially better design than the Elementum for a host of reasons. The first of which is just a slimmer blade. And you can see that this blade is like, it's massively thick compared to the Gent. This uses, by the way, this uses Nitro V steel. Good steel. It's not a powder steel, but it's one of my favorite. Look at that, I was trying to do the liner. It's one of my favorite budget steels. And it is basically AEBL with a little added nitrogen. This is the Ferrum Forge Gent 2. I love the original Gent. It was definitely a step up in terms of performance because it had S35VN steel. They replaced the S35VN. They actually went down as opposed to up, which is unusual for a sequel. Most times when you get a sequel knife, it's a little fancier. This is less fancy. This runs the 9CR 13 MOV, which is basically, excuse me, which is basically a step up from 8CR 13 MOV, and it's right around 440C in terms of performance. It is not a powder steel. This is a really great knife. I love, and I have always loved, the shape of the Gent. It is just a slim, elegant knife, nice drop point, good clean lines. It's got a choil here so you can choke up. It's got a nice liner lock. The liner lock, of course, is shadow boxed to give your hand a little bit more to grip on. It gives the handle a more three-dimensional feel. One big upgrade here. Oh, I love this new simple pocket clip. There is just nothing wrong with this pocket clip, and that makes it great. Really excellent pocket clip. Huge fan. So looking at the knife overall, it's a good knife. And it's right around, I think it's on sale right now for about 40 bucks on Blade HQ. And then the final knife in this class, one of my very favorite knives in the entry-level tier. This is the Justin Lundquist designed Civivi Lumi, and it is absolutely great. It is a front flipper as opposed to a traditional flipper, and yet even as a front flipper, which some people think takes a little bit more in terms of finger gymnastics, this knife pops right out. It's got an excellent crispy detent. Listen, you can hear it. Ready? And it makes for an excellent carry knife. I really like this. It's smaller than the other knives here. It's symmetrical. There's no real protuberances. This kind of sticks out. The flipper tab sticks out a little bit, but not a lot. And then it has the really good deep carry over the top clip. Almost perfectly symmetrical. If you have like 60 or 70 bucks to spend on a knife and you want something that's like really EDC friendly, this is the option I would choose. I really like this knife. This knife also has a different steel. This is Sandvik's 14C28N. So we have 14C28N, we have 9CR13 MOV, we have Nitro V right here, and then we have the budget powder steel AR RPM 9. So you can still get really good steels in these entry-level knives if you know what to look for. It's just that a lot of the brands have basically abandoned that part of the market, which may make sense. I mean, I don't know who they're selling knives to, but if you're an enthusiast looking for a cheaper knife, you can still find really good steels. These knives give up nothing in terms of performance. You're getting the best bang for your buck that you can find when you get some of these steels. So just a note out there, there's still a lot of really good stuff in the sub $100 range, and I don't think it gets enough attention here on YouTube. That was my Sweet Stuff Saturday take on entry-level knives.